Right on. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today's Friday, September 10th. It is 8:38 p.m., and I apologize, a late video. But it's been a rough week, very busy week, both at work and working on your VMs. If you think that I've been MIA just because of my own personal agenda, well, that's part true, part not true. We've been working very diligently with Jesse on some of the stuff that we'll be showing you today. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. First of all, I was double checking. Both classes have the deadline for this assignment to be September 22nd. September 22nd, last time I checked, that happens to be a Wednesday, right? Am I going crazy with that? Nope, I just pulled it on my phone and it is indeed a Wednesday. I'm sure that when I was looking at the schedule, I already knew that with anything new technology and any website that you create, there's always going to be some challenges. So I already kind of buffered in the fact that by then, some of the VMs might come up with some hiccups, meaning we are right on target. So just wanted to say that, yes, the assignment is on the 22nd, and I officially now put that question mark. I removed the question mark, it's the 22nd, and we'll stick with that. Today's lecture will be uploaded here. I will clean up a little bit of Canvas so that everybody sees all the videos on the modules. I know I've been neglecting that, but trust me, Canvas is the last place to worry about. The real good stuff is happening in the document and on the VMs. Without further ado, let's go to the VMs. Ladies and gentlemen, there's still a lot of work missing, but hear me out. We have some news to share with you. CentOS 8 is actually working. CentOS 8 is actually working, and this is the VM that we will be using for our SSH keys. Yes, could have we done this earlier? Should have we done this, in a different fashion? Maybe, but SSH keys, that's how we're going to use them. Why? Let me show you why. I'm going to take a quick tangent and show you why we're going down this route. GCP, this is Google Cloud Platform. If you haven't signed up for Shell Hacks, don't know if you guys are on campus, if half of you are remote, it doesn't matter if you get to participate in any of the hackathons. Remember, most of the hackathons give you the ability to work on Google, the ability to work on Azure or Amazon. Ooh, I owe Google 5 cents. I wonder if they're going to charge me for 5 cents. They're going to nickel and dime me here. Anyways, Google Platform, what do? They allow you to give out VMs. I mean, you can rent a VM. You can basically pay for it on your credit card. Students usually get a $200 free credit when you do this for the first time. It lasts a couple of months, then you use it or lose it. Then you're basically have to become a paying customer. What are some of the things that they do here? Let me just run you through this fairly quickly and just reinforce the idea as to why are we using SSH keys. If you haven't put any attention to what we're doing, SSH keys is one way to authenticate. So kind of skimming through this very quickly, we can pick our sizes in Google Cloud Platform. We're going to just pick a VM. Let's just go ahead and pick CentOS. I don't know if we've ever been this here before. My memory kind of just goes off. I don't know if I already showed this, but we can pick Rocky 8. This Rocky 8 is in this list. Select, we'll leave any VM will do. Just hit create. And of course, even Google has a couple of seconds. So I try to mimic what Google does. I'm like, well, Google takes a few seconds to instantiate the VM. So do we. It is a complicated process. It's not like you snap your fingers and VMs just automatically, materialize in front of you. Google obviously have a lot of PhD people behind them, but nonetheless. Here's the important part. When you connect to your VM, either through Google, Amazon, or Azure, most of the time they encourage you to use SSH keys. And Google has this very cool UI when as soon as you turn it on, it says transferring your SSH keys to VM. Mind you, you did not create keys. They do all the key management for you. But the concept of SSH keys is something that is current. It's something that I'm not teaching you from the book, although it is on the book. It's not something theoretical. It's actually, industry standard. That's what happens. This is how you get into a VM, and it's pretty cool. Google Cloud Platform lets you work with the VM through the web browser, and you can do a bunch of other cool things, but that's just a demo, right? So we wanted to demo how they're using it, and let's see the equivalent of those SSH keys for us. Here we go. We're going to just go and close this. So exit this VM. Always, if you're not using anything on the cloud, delete the VM because the clock is ticking. They charge you by the minute. I've done a couple of experiments this month. That's why I owe them apparently 5 cents, because every time you boot it, the clock starts ticking and they start charging you. Anywho, we're done with Google. So close that, and let's move on. While Jesse is typing on the instructions, this is the beautiful thing about a live document. It just means that we're constantly making edits, making sure that it A, reads properly, B, we are on point when it comes down to the instructions. So let's go ahead and work on that. So I'm going to go ahead and demo again what is going to happen with the keys. And the reason why I'm going to demo is because I'm going to demo the keys and then submit. Ladies and gentlemen, CentOS is the only VM that you can submit infinitely many times. You can do this as much as you want, because in the event that you lose your keys, I need to make sure that you can give yourself a brand new pair of keys. So at any point in time, this section, you can try as many times as you want. So please feel free to set up the keys once. And if something went wrong, do it again. So let's do it. So we're going to go ahead and hit CentOS 8. Boom. Let's see. So I clicked it, and I'm still working on a little pop-up that tells you, are you sure you want to boot up this device? And as soon as you press yes, it will wipe the information so you know, and then we wait for an IP. Just like Google, the process takes a little bit, the VMs will turn on, and eventually we need to know what IP is assigned to this particular machine. So that's basically what we're waiting for. Don't have that nice UI from Google, but there we go. So now we have a VM. Perfect. We'll open up a terminal. We'll go ahead and open that up. Oops, wrong direction. We'll make the terminal bigger. And there it goes. So I know that we only have a different viewer other than Jesse, but Jesse, if you have any comments or maybe any questions that you can think that the students may ask, please let me know. And then Samantha as well, if you think that anything is important, maybe not important to you, but just kind of generally speaking, then let me know. We can always expand on that a little bit. For this piece, we're going to connect to Ocelot. So we're going to go through Ocelot first. We'll jump through that server. We will then jump to the IP that was assigned to us. And we'll connect as root. From then on, we will type in our Panther ID. Again, this VM is the only one that you will connect with your Panther ID. It's a little bit hard for me to demo that because the professor account should be able to connect, but if I connect from my own machine while on the VPN, obviously, to simulate that I'm on FIU's network, then I will type in my Panther ID and I connect. So getting that out of the way, we will then go into setting up SSH keys. I know I've done this before. I'm just gonna run through it again. We'll run through it kind of quickly just to show you how the submission process is going to work and how we're going to verify that our keys are working. The process of SSH keys is actually quite simple. It involves a folder called .ssh, which already exists in your machine. And that is because inside of this folder, it is a hidden folder because it starts with a dot. All files with a dot are technically hidden. They're not visible just with the command ls. And inside of the SSH folder, there is a file called authorized keys. There is a key already. There is a public key that exists there, and that is the professor account. This is how I go in there and grade your content. That is how I'm going to grade when you press submit. At this moment, there is nothing much, there's not much to submit because you haven't done anything. So if I reload the website and I can show you, so at this point, only the VM is running and I can hit submit. Notice we are running image 001. I should put a description at the bottom, like this is CentOS, also known as image 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we will keep labeling them in order. We'll continue as the assignments progress. So that's a to-do list, and I hope that either I or Jesse will remember this. So when we make our edits, we can definitely tackle that. Okay. One thing that we've done so far is when we submit, so keep an eye on this, guys. I'm going to reload the page. When we submit, if you don't have the SSH key ready, please process. It tells you we are unable to pull the key. So this is a good feedback to you to let you know, hey, the keys are not done yet. And because this VM is very special, I am not going to grade you until I can pull the key successfully. So how does that work again? SSH-keygen, right? That's the command. So we're going to just run the command, no arguments. Now, somebody, I believe, in a conversation, I saw something on the chat, then Jesse brought it up. There are many algorithms that you can use to generate keys. By default, we're just going to stick with RSA. It's the default one. You don't have to do anything. But there are many algorithms that you can use. Obviously, if I wanted to be very picky, I will do something like, hey, what's a slide for algorithms, and then test you about them, right? So what are some of the algorithms that are out there? We have RSA, DSA, ECDSA, the list goes on. But this is neither a security class nor it is a mathematical class where the math behind it is important. So no, we're not going to grade you on that. But yes, there's a lot of other algorithms that come into play, and we can just kind of skip through it, make sure that it's called ID RSA. I mentioned we don't want the passphrase, so press enter, 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 enter. Next thing you know, you have a public file, which is this little string that's what I'm going to be retrieving from your file. Leave the file exactly as it is. Do not change anything. Don't go in here and modify the name of root or the node name or add anything. Leave it exactly as is. I will pull that file from the server and tell you that your SSH key has been saved. How am I going to do that? Well, we're going to test the submission button one more time. Remember, we're running image 001, also known as CentOS 8. We will need to put that blurb somewhere. I'm going to press submit just for the sake of testing this. Are you sure you want to submit? Yes. Processing, please wait. And now I have completely saved your public key. Ta-da! No claps. That's fine. Tough audience. Let's keep going. This key we are going to use, and we're going to see these in other parts of the assignment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up a text editor. Part of my mess here, I have too many things open. That's what happens when you work in IT. You have a lot of windows. I'm going to go open up a text editor, very plain vanilla text editor. I'm going to say this is my public, so PUB, and this is the, actually, let's just put the path of the file. This is the content, and for all intents and purposes, let's just say that I am going to give myself another key. So I'm just going to show you the private key. So this is like a key and a lock. You're going to Ace Hardware, and you're buying a brand new pair of keys because you just move into a new place, and this is basically what you get. You get a brand new pair of keys, key and a lock, and this whole thing unlocks this guy. Ta-da! Obviously, if I were to use this key and this key pair all the time, and you know this value, you could break into any of my VMs. But don't worry, let's not get creative here. I will change it. So after this video, I will destroy the key and generate myself a new one. That's the beautiful thing about being able to submit CentOS 8 infinitely many times, as many as you need. Well, let's go here and let's review. So I have my document and I have here my key, my public key, and then I also have the one for the private one. So what are we going to do? We're going to now instantiate another VM. So let's try that. Let's pick any VM. I'm going to pick now Scientific Linux 7. So I'm just going to go ahead and click that one. I know I'm missing that little pop-up that tells us that yes, the click went through, that this is going to change and the IP will be generated in a few minutes. Well, while that's happening, I know that this VM has gone stale. It's no longer there. It's been destroyed. They're very much like those hand sanitizer wipes. You just see them everywhere now. You just use them, clean, and then just throw them away. You toss this VM, they're basically throwaways. The VM should be coming up. There you go. We have an IP. This one still thinking, still hasn't closed the connection. So I'm just going to open up a new tab, SSH Ocelot, and then from there, SSH to this IP as root. This is the experience that each and every single one of you should have. You should be able to SSH from Ocelot into your VM using root. But how do we get there? And what's expecting us when we get to this particular VM? Here's what we get. How do I know? First of all, here's a question that I haven't heard yet, but how do I know I am working in Scientific Linux 7? I understand it says node 25, but node 25 is basically how many VMs have I worked on. It has nothing to do with Scientific Linux 7, nor what master image is the professor using to clone. Basically, I made a master file and I just give you guys copies of it. How do I know that this is the right one? There is a file of the OS under the etc folder called OS release. And in here, we can see that the current version that we're running is called Scientific Linux. It's called Scientific version 7.9. Here is that distribution. So that's basically tells me that I am on the right VM. I can clear the screen and basically continue working on it. What I'm going to show you now is I'm going to show you back on the root of the, in the home folder of root, which is basically cd root. Sounds very repetitive, but that's where we are. We are going to explore here. We're going to do an ls minus la. We're going to see again our .ssh file. Keep in mind that .ssh file is getting updated as we go through the class. Is going to get different things. It's going to get your SSH keys. It's going to get different values. Some things might get installed while we boot up the VM. Then what we have here is the following. We're going to go into the .ssh folder and we're going to see the authorized keys. Remember, in CentOS 8, there was only one value. There was only one SSH key. For a second, I was like, Jesse, this didn't work. No, but it worked. I freaked out for a second. I had a senior moment there. I just didn't. Anyways, here's what's happening. We have the second key. And the second key, ladies and gentlemen, it definitely matches the one that we generated in CentOS. It means that we indeed save that key when we press submit. What does that mean to you? What that means to you is that now you can actually SSH using keys. You don't have to use a password. So I'm going to demonstrate this with a different VM, and Jesse, you're going to help me with this. I forgot what IP is the one is the VM that you've been using.
It's 10.128.3.162.
Hold on a second. I forgot I was supposed to go to Oslo first. So can you give me the IP again? 10.128.
10.128.3.162.
162. Why is this not typing?
Make sure also that they know when they're with their ID or private key that it needs to be in their Ocelot as well, in order for that to work.
Exactly. So that's the part that I'm about to demo. So right now I am connecting to another VM. So this one doesn't belong to me. Jesse, just like every one of you, acts like a student. She comes into this page, she loads up the VM, she's helping me test a few things. So this VM is not mine. Jessie has here her CSV. She was testing a few things, but pretending that this VM is Ocelot, right? I want to jump from the black VM from node 33. I want to jump to node 25. How do I do that? When I submitted my keys on CentOS 8, I gave the professor the lock. So the professor can put the lock in any VM moving forward throughout their entire semester. Your job for the rest of the assignment, which is basically Fedora, Scientific Linux 7, Rocky 8, Ubuntu 20, and yes, we have new labels and a few things that we've been discovering lately. We'll go over them a little bit today. For the next VMs, you do need to log in with your own private key. Let me repeat this one more time. If you're watching this video, roughly at 9 p.m. or I don't know, whatever time it says on YouTube, 10 minutes in, 20 minutes into the video, this is important. Mark it, do something. This is when you need to put the SSH key, the private key, inside of Ocelot so you can SSH into the rest of your VMs. How does that work? Well, inside of Ocelot, you need to go into your .ssh folder, and in there, you're going to create VI, you're going to set up one file called VI ID _ RSA. This file is key. We're going to set up this file. We're going to paste the private key. We're going to copy that. Don't add any extra characters, so just be very careful. Sorry, I keep missing it. Also, don't paste this in Word. Don't paste this in like any rich text editor. Try to do it in as simple as possible because any extra characters will mess things up. We're going to insert. We're going to paste. Always make sure that you paste the whole key. So we're going to go ahead and review that starts with the -- and it ends with the -- So the whole thing is here, making sure that everything is working. Next up, what we're going to do is we're going to right quit. And then after that, chmod 600. Before we do that, I know a student asked about what are the permissions and things like that. So usually file permissions are 611. Is that what this is? Let's try this out. 611 ID _ RSA. So what is the meaning of each one of the numbers? The 6 is the bit summation of read, write, and execute for the user. Then the next number is for group, and then the next number is for other. If that, no, that's not it. It's 622 then, because 1 is the value for execute. Wow, I haven't done this in a while with like this. So 622 and
755.
almost.
Oh, like just open all of them.
644. 644. There you go. So it's read, write, read, and read. That's the default file permission. And I should have known this. I don't know why I got my numbers confused, but it happens. Something else that you can do is you can do this with letters. Usually, that's the easiest way to remember it. One is called the alpha notation because it's letters, and the other one's like the numeric notation. You could do things like this. You could say, for group, you can remove the read, and for other, you can also remove the read property. Notice how this reads. Group is this guy. We're going to remove the read, and for other, we can remove the read as well. So now that we've changed the permissions, we're going to check our permissions, and now we see that all we need is read and write for the user. That is the exact same equivalent of chmod 600. That is exactly what it means. 00 means no permissions for ID _ RSA. That's basically what it is. There are websites that go into details to how this works, but I'm sure you've seen some of these in either OS, website construction, or maybe in a prior Unix class with me. So we're not spending too much time here, but this file does need to have that permission in order for things to work properly. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to try to connect here. So let's see my IP ADDR. Here we go. We're going to try to connect. And if everything works correctly, we're going to SSH to that IP minus root and accept the fingerprint. And without any passwords, we have logged in. Yay. I wish this was more like iMessage when you like text someone congratulations or happy birthday, like balloons will like fly off my screen just to celebrate that. Yes, that's exactly how it works. Remove node 003 and do this. I mean, this is basically what you need to do in Ocelot. Once you do this, you are going to unlock all the rest of the VMs because now you can log into any of them with SSH keys, which makes me feel a little bit more like Google, right? That's exactly how they do things. And that is basically very secure, right? We don't have any passwords. It's very convenient because if I look at my Etsy shadow file, we've been here before when creating accounts, we know that my root user doesn't have a password, which is fantastic. It shouldn't. We don't want to let anybody try to brute force their way into the system. We just want to make sure that we connect in a very secure fashion. Once again, if you're back in Ocelot pretending that this is the Ocelot server, if by any chance you happen to go to the .ssh folder and by any stroke of luck, you delete your private key for whatever reason and your key is no longer there, you will sound like me. I lose keys all the time. I lose things. You have no idea. I'm so happy with those Apple things that they let you find things because I need them. I seriously need them. It's not because I'm old. It's because that's been my entire life. I lose things all the time. I've been a member of the tile community for a while. I'm checking my keys. I have my tile there because I need that kind of stuff. But if you happen to misplace something, you remove this and you need to find something, please do yourself a favor. Save your keys, right? Save them. So save these files somewhere else, not just in Ocelot, so that if anything happens to your keys, you can go back and then say, you know what? I am going to restore the key. But before that, let me just show you something. Before I restore the key, let's try to connect back to that VM, and then you'll see that you get prompted for a password. As a matter of fact, it even tells you that, hey, we try to authenticate with keys, but unfortunately that key was not in the right format. So this is one of the messages that comes through. Like I said, we are going to paste the keys one more time. So there you go. We're going to paste the keys. We're going to right quit, make sure they're good. And we're going to try to connect one more time, and we should be able to get in without anything. That is basically what's ahead for all of us. And once you're in the VM, then you should be able to go ahead and continue working. Clear? How are we doing? Are we good? Any questions, comments, queries?
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah. Well, you've seen some of this before. So do you think that any students will have any kind of questions, anything that comes to mind for you?
Well, I do have a question about, can you go back to the virtual machine page?
Yeah, doing that right now. Hold on. Just
You're okay. Okay, so if we lose a key or we do the CentOS 8 assignment again and submit, do we need to do anything else other than save it in Ocelot for us to still be able to continue to access our virtual machines? Like, do we need to let you know to change something, or are we okay?
So basic, can I answer or you want to answer?
well, I'll give you the chance to let's see what you have to say.
So basically, when you resubmit it, like you're gonna have to change. Like if you redo your CentOS, like just say you redo the entire thing again, like click it before you submit, then you'll have to redo the process again because the private key will change. So will your public key. So you'll have to change. You have to copy and paste your new private key into Ocelot, and then then it will work again because the keys do change every time you redo it. You can like just change them that way. You can also do it on your normal VM if you want to just change it up, I guess, if that's what you wanted to do at any point in time. You can reset your keys, and it will reset everything. So that's one thing you have to be careful about. That's why you said to copy and paste into another document,
Mhm.
because you never know what might happen. And you just want to double check to make sure that you have the right keys. So if you notice, like right before submission, your keys are different than what you thought they were, that's never good. So you're going to have to make sure you have the right key in your Ocelot before you submit. So that way, when you try to go into your other VMs, then you'll be able to easily enter those without having to enter the password or have an invalid. Does that
Okay.
answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
The piece that you also say is, do you need to let me know about anything? No, the way we were working out this with Jesse is that this is the only submission that will not like turn into any color. The reason being is because you can go as many times as you need to. That being said, you don't need to notify me. I mean, because what's actually happening is that as soon as you submit, this value gets stored in a database that we host, and this value will now be propagated to Fedora, Scientific Universe 7, Rocky, and so forth. So it is up to you that if you create a new one, you're responsible for this part. You don't need to tell me. You don't need to say, you don't need to do anything. But if something happens and you need to generate a second one or a third one, you have to do the whole process again. And then that's on you. But it doesn't break anything. If this happens to you halfway through the semester, all you got to do is, if you forgot the commands or the permissions or something comes through, then this video will be that video. So you definitely want to bookmark this one and then say, look, if something happens with the keys, this is the one that we need. That's why this video is very important.
Okay. Thank you guys so much.
No problem. And like I said, we're just trying to avoid passwords, and just, that is the standard. The industry standard nowadays is just SSH keys, and that's basically what's happening from this point forward. The other part that we want to demo today, and again, it's not like we're falling behind. There's going to be a lot more videos coming up. I might even do a couple, at least one during the weekend, so don't freak out. You don't have to attend, but I will be bugging you guys during the weekend. What's going to happen is that throughout the VMs, each VM is going to contain a different setup. That's why I call them images. I build one image and then I give you a copy of it. For Fedora 34, the VM is currently empty. Why is the VM empty? Because when you go into the VM, you're going to add users into it. So there is no users, right? So, and I think that we demoed this in the previous video, like what is account management? What does it mean to add an account? Some of the options here, what are some of the things that I will expect? Everything that you do, we can go ahead and verify that very easily in the operating system. So I'm still using Node 25, which is the one that I generated. And if I go here, I go to etc passwd. Sorry, this is an open file. So we're going to open. We see the accounts shown there. Very quickly, we can do a user add, and I can say, well, what about a test account? I can say T1 for just test one. The information in this list has been modified. This is the user ID, group ID, all that good stuff. If I want to create now a secondary account with a comment, I will now have an option, and I have an argument for that option. I can say this will be first and last name, just like it is basically on your assignment. Now, mind you, this is not everybody doesn't have the literal word first and last. This should be replaced by the first and last name of your CSV. The CSVs, if you haven't downloaded them yet, or if you haven't seen this before, is basically a file that was also created with Jesse. It's just a file with a bunch of data just to keep us busy throughout the semester with names, fake, no, not fake planets, but planets and blood types, languages. There's a lot of fun stuff in there. And we're going to use that throughout the semester to complete a certain number of tasks. Remember, you can always download the file, replace your username here with your own, and then basically we will use that to complete the rest of the tasks. So just opening that file, So it will be, for example, any of these users will be there. Trust me, I did not put this one on purpose. I don't know. Just wow, what are the odds? Anywho, popular names and popular last names that show up on the census. This comes from census data from the United States of America. So have fun. Well, so this image, like I was saying, some of the images are empty, but the one thing that I have here is I have node 33. So this is the one that Jesse is working on. And this VM is actually very different. This VM, so let's go ahead and find out. This VM is Etsy OS release. Let's see, this is Rocky 8. So Jesse is basically working on Rocky 8. And when you hit Rocky 8, one of the things that is going to happen is that you're gonna see your CSV already waiting for you on the home folder. But in addition to that, you're going to notice that inside of the Etsy passwd, you're going to find all the accounts already configured. Dun, dun, dun. Now, instead of creating, reading, updating in this part for Rocky 8, we will be deleting things. Now, when we go to Rocky 8, it says that when you set up the VM and you hit Rocky 8, it might take up to 15 to 20 minutes for the whole setup to take place. I know it's a bit slow, but due to the shared resources that we have, RAM, memory, RAM and memory are the same, but RAM and space for swap, the amount of CPUs that we have in these machines, it's slow. So bear with it. So when we want you to do this VM, we want you to take your time, set it up, do something else, come back, and it'll be ready. We're thinking with Jesse of sending you an email once the VM is ready to go. We will just email you and say, hey, congratulations, it's ready to go. So what's ready to go? All the accounts are configured. If we count, 1,022 accounts are here. What does that mean for us? It means that we can remove users. But what users are we talking about? Jesse and I have put an example here. This is usually how I do my assignments. I kind of just hint at a few things. You have your CSV. So we have Jesse's CSV. She has a whole different set of users. Notice her last user doesn't have that last name that I have. And these users, some of them will have the O type for their blood type, right? So if we go back to the breakdown of the CSV, the blood type is something that we're going to acknowledge. So let's just do that. So it doesn't. That's okay. I guess we will accept this. So blood type and TB genres. So for any of the users who has the blood type of O, we want to go ahead and remove them. We can do an example. We can do a different example. So if I go in here, now this spell check is trying to get me. If we go to the CSV, we can use the grep command to kind of filter out things, and we can say, you know what, let's just try something a little bit simple. Let's try Aquarius. Anyone who's Aquarius, and Unix does this very cool thing where it highlights the color. We can see in our CSV of 1,000, there are 88 users, fake users, who happen to have Aquarius as their sign. They don't necessarily happen to be born in the month of Aquarius, because all of this is fake data, but that's their sign. So if this was the case, you would find the users with the O type and then find the username, and your job is basically to go ahead, to go from 1,022 users to user delete and then remove the account. And when the user gets removed, notice this is why it takes like 10 minutes to process them, because the adds and removes are taking quite too long. And now we go from 22 to 21. Obviously, you're probably wondering, well, how does this work when you grade? Well, the math is there. We all start with 10,022 accounts. And I know, Jesse knows, and our scripts happen to know how many of your users happen to have the O blood type. So simple math. Imagine that this was, instead of the O type, it was Aquarius. So going back to this example, if we ask you to only remove queries from the users, it will be 10,022 minus 88. That number will be the magical number that you need to have when you submit the assignment. When you're done with all the file manipulation, obviously, what are some of the things that you can do? You can open up the file. This is kind of the opposite because you're making sure that this name does not exist because it's supposed to be removed. Once you're done, you will come in here and submit, just like we've done before. You will just press submit. It will tell you, are you sure you want to submit? Then we're going to press OK, and then you will be graded. Once you submit, you only get one chance. So that's still in play, where you only get a chance to submit, because think about it, you have the entire time to double check your work to make sure that everything is done. But once you commit to it, we are moving forward with it. We're also going to delete groups, right? So I think in the previous video, we did a group add. So group add, and then we just say maybe G1, just to add a group. The groups are stored in the Etsy group, so we can always check if the group was successfully added. And we're also going to remove a group, so we'll do group remove, or is it group delete? Yeah, group delete, and we'll remove G1. And what do? Well, we just check when it's there. If we remove it, shouldn't be there. Straight. Nothing here is hidden. All the stuff that you're going to do, you can check yourself. This goes for both classes. When we're doing scripts, you can definitely check the input and outputs of the script. And then for the Unix systems, if we turn on ports, we turn on services, we turn on anything, you will be able to test that as well. We're basically taking this class to the next level. I mean, thankfully, I just bit the bullet, bite the bullet. We just decided to change the page, and Jesse's been very helpful. We're now going to do deletes and updates, which is new, completely new. In Ubuntu, same thing. When Ubuntu launches, there'll be a bunch of users already preloaded into the system. They will not have comments. So your job is now to modify those users and add comments to them. So one more time, the number of users don't change, but what actually changes is the content of the file. So some of the files now should have what do you call it? They should have comments, and those comments are not necessarily your first name, last name, but instead we are looking for comments where they happen to be the date of birth. Some of these things will start to include conditional statements, and those conditional statements are basically only add this to people, accounts that have this type of data. What kind of data? Well, we haven't learned much. It doesn't seem like we cover a lot, but trust me, we have. This file has a lot of placeholders, one of them being a user ID. The user ID is the third column with a column delimiter. Yeah, that's it. Doesn't seem like much, but this type of questions may show up on your exam and quizzes, because that's important to know what type of delimiter it is and how many columns do we have, or how many attributes. Because it's column delimited, the third one, we only want you to apply these changes to users who have a UID, or third column, between 1,000 and 2,000. So hopefully this is, making the brain functionality like kick in, like kickstart that thought process and get you thinking, wow, how am I going to do that? Some people are on the 3,000 level, some of them are on the 1,000 level, and some of them are in the 2,000 level. So we're very explicitly saying between 1,000 and 2,000, not including 2,000. So yeah, that's a gotcha one. It's not including. So I know those in discrete math will remember some of these, and for those in computer science, well, that's an easy one, right? It's not inclusive. For the groups, we are going to do something for any UID who is bigger than 2,000. So for this one, we're changing the modality here, and we want you to let us know when a user gets added. So let's see, user add test one again, or no, actually we're by like test 3. When a user account gets added, you can see what groups is that account a member of. And how do we know that? Well, that's in the Etsy PassWD. We see that this account, his ID is 3992, and he's a member of group 3992. And what group is that? Well, if we go to the Etsy group folder, now we start to connect not just the contents of the file, but like how these things work, this user is a member of himself, right? He has his own group. There is a command to test what groups are you a member of, and if you do ID T3, this command will tell you the UID of the user, the group of the user, and any other additional groups that you belong to. Interesting. Let's see that. I'm going to go to Ocelot and I'm going to type in ID GGOME 002. I wonder inside of Ocelot how many users. I mean, I'm a member of what? I'm a group. I'm a member of user and user. That doesn't sound too exciting. Let's go to a different server. Let's go to server A where the VMs are hosted. Let me see if I'm a member of more groups in here. Here, it so happens that I'm a member of more groups. My primary group is user, but I'm also a member of QEMU and then libvirt, which is basically like the virtualization server. I can never pronounce this word correctly, but I am a member of 3 different groups. And basically that's what's going to happen. When you add a user to a secondary group, and that's what it says here, then that user, when you run ID, you will see more than one group in the output. That's basically what we're going to do. You could also tell that this is the case when you look at groups. So if I go to Etsy group, I will see that right next to libvirt, I see Eric Johnson and I see my own account. So if you're a member of multiple groups, you will see those names listed in the group section, but you will never see them on the Etsy password. Let me just without showing all the accounts that exist in this VM, I can tell you that, oh, this is a different way of looking at the Etsy password. He must have a different configuration. But in the Etsy password, what you're going to see is that you're only going to see one ID because that's your primary group, and then all subsequent groups will be handled on the group file. That's basically what we're doing. We're still going to be working on this assignment throughout the week, but as the week goes by, you'll realize that we will be moving actually a lot faster because there's really only 4 commands, right? User add, delete, group delete, and ID. There's 5 commands there. And then from then on, we're going to start, learning a little bit about scripting. How does that work? How does that come into play? How do we do this? Because we have a lot of work to do. If you notice, you had to modify a lot of accounts. I don't know how many accounts randomly ended up between 1,000 and 2,000. I don't know that. I don't know this number either. The groups, that one's kind of straightforward. How many of your users have blood type O? I have no clue of that. But it definitely seems like you'll be adding or you'll be manipulating anywhere between 1,000, that's the minimum, but you will definitely be modifying anywhere between like 1,500 to 2,000 accounts easily. So brace yourself for doing some of this. It'll be a lot of work. Play to your strengths. If you know how to do this in Atom, if you know how to do this in VS Code, whatever it is that you know how to get a lot of work done, text manipulation, please leverage it. Excel's a great tool to massage a lot of this data. Please go ahead and start doing that. I want to keep this short. I don't want to go on a tangent. So please, any final thoughts, any ladies, anything that you may want to comment on, questions, things that other students may ask, you can, in behalf of other people, let me know.
I have a question about the CSV.
Go ahead.
So I remember last semester there was an issue with the color and then the country Peru, and that gave me a lot of problems later on in the semester. Is there going to be a column or 2 columns that are like that again this semester?
I see what you're saying. I have a lot of gray hairs because of things like that. It definitely gets me. But no, we try our best. We haven't seen it so far. Jessie can tell you that she feels terribly sorry that on the first try of setting up the CSV, we actually had, I believe it was an astrological sign, a zodiac sign that was empty, and that was already
It was a language that was empty.
A language that was empty, and it was making the whole thing flip out. We addressed that. We made it on purpose so that no language, zodiac sign, a constellation will repeat. So constellations and zodiac signs, if you know, I mean, these were selected by Jesse. They kind of match, right? There should be like a Cancer zodiac sign, and there should be like a Cancer constellation. We wash them out. We don't repeat them. I told her exactly because of the Peru issue to don't
Yeah.
do that. So we're doing our best. We try. Obviously, we may have missed something, and if it does come through, we will try to address it. We also make sure any words that have a space, they have an underscore, because that you were on the database class. You were not in the Unix class, but if you would have been in the Unix class last semester, the underscores do play a huge role with DNS and a couple of other things, and they do give people gray hairs too. So we're making sure that it's all working, that now we have two people like really looking into it, which is very helpful. And that's it. So yes, we're making sure that the CSV is better. It's actually working.
Okay, cool.
And look at that, you get a brand new CSV because we're not recycling the comments or the topics from last semester. This is all new data.
I don't get to use the one I already have pre-configured in my laptop.
Oh,
That's
no.
great.
I had way too much fun with this one.
Well, the theory is basically the same. So you already, those who have taken the class or have done anything with loops, you will know that foundation comes in very handy because you're breaking down CSVs by columns and doing some file manipulation. So it's the same. You just gotta get familiar with the headers, right? So throw the CSV in Excel the first time. Work with it, analyze it. You can do sorting and filters in Excel. That's a great way to start. It never hurts. Play to your strengths, like I always say. And then as you feel more comfortable, then you can just start moving more towards code and things like that.
Okay. And then I have a question about the quiz that's supposed to be this Sunday, I think.
Yes.
Are we good to go ahead and take that, or are you releasing more content that's going to be on that between now and then?
I mean, full disclosure, we've been like nonstop trying to get these VMs going, like trying to make sure that the script, the algorithm to set up the machines was working. I had no time to open up the quiz. So whatever questions were out there from like last semester, those are there.
Okay. Got it.
Which in a way, I would love for everybody to just give it their best shot. I don't even know what questions are there. I forgot. I mean, you've seen this. Jesse has seen this. Anyone who knows me at this point, there's so much material that we go through. I don't know. So give this quiz. Trust me, it's probably going to be a wash. I'll probably just end up giving everybody a 10. I shouldn't be saying this, but just give it your best shot. The questions there, I am going to make them worth your time, because what's going to happen is that if I didn't cover the material for a question, give it your best shot to answer it. But trust me, that question for this quiz, if I didn't cover it, this might be the questions. So, because sometimes you guys know, I take questions exactly from the quizzes and I put them in the exams. Those might be the questions that shows up in the exam, right? Because I'm trading places. I know that I've been busy with the environment, and full disclosure, I said this from the beginning of the semester. This is all brand new, so I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, but I'm trying my best, and thankfully Jesse's been helping. So we're trying to catch up. This quiz just kind of slipped by. There is content there. Please try to answer it to the best of your ability. Yeah, I'll
Okay.
check later. I haven't even seen them. So, but thanks for bringing it up, because I know when I went to Canvas, already some people started taking the quiz. So I can go back there and like say, no, let me change it because I want this questions for SSH keys to be in this week. I can't do that at this point. So some students already took it, so I have to just roll with the punches.
And then for the assignment, do we have the go ahead and start it? Or are you guys still working on the virtual machines?
Right. So for CentOS, we have to go ahead and start. And then for the submissions of the ones at the bottom, those are still pending. And what's going to happen is that if you're done with Fedora and you try to submit Fedora, it will tell you no, this it hasn't been great. It can't be graded just yet. And
Okay.
what I will do is I will probably start working with colors. I'm sure Jesse will help me with this. We'll do some colors, some color coding scheme where as we label them, this one's ready, this one's ready, this one's ready, so that we can grade them. But you should be able to open all of them for now so you can explore, you can see what your Rocky 8 will look like, what your Ubuntu will look like. You can see all the accounts already preloaded, all of that. So like I said, we still have a week and a half. I mean, we still have this weekend and the whole week and a half. So there's still time. I kind of predicted that this was going to happen. But yes, for sure, CentOS 8, you can get that one going, and then you can start coming here to Fedora or Scientific Linux 7 and try it. You can always play along with it. And if you feel like your VM is too messy, then redeploy it. I think that's what I meant with this button, but I don't think we're going to use, I don't know yet. So you can redeploy it. Eventually, I will allow snapshots. I just haven't figured where the snapshots kind of come into play, especially with those students who know from previous semester how to like save your work. I am already giving you kind of a bench, like a baseline of what the VMs look like. So I'm not really sure if snapshots will make the cut just yet.
Okay.
Also,
I think that
back
was
with
all the
your-
questions.
Back with your exams, like he did say they will probably come from, like a few of the questions will probably come from the quizzes, but definitely like not all of them.
If it's anything like last semester, I think I kind of know what to expect.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a scary. I don't know. I'm kind of scared with that comment. I don't know what you mean by that. But and again, you took the class again, so I hope it's all good things because you're here. Unless you're a masochist, and then at which point it's like, what are you doing here? There's a lot of work.
No, it's not that bad. It's really not.
Hey, I'm a hard professor, okay? Don't
No,
say-
you're difficult. Don't get me wrong, but it's doable.
Okay, I have a reputation to uphold.
Yeah, those rate my professors say it all, don't they?
I cry myself to sleep on those. All right, ladies. Well, it's been fun. This is a great way to spend a Friday night. But as soon as I'm done with this, I'm gonna go ahead and head out. So I will get back to you guys tomorrow, right? Or throughout the weekend. Like I said, we'll keep in touch. We'll definitely do some more work. There's a lot of stuff on my plate, and yeah, we'll be in touch. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for the questions, the comments. It definitely helps those who can't be here and made it this far into the video, knowing that I just ramble on things. So, feel free to share with everybody else, and then we'll keep the conversations going. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
No problem.